Harold's voice was shaking when he called at 8:47 a.m. on that Tuesday morning. "Mike, your son isn't who you think he is. Meet me in an hour. What I found will destroy everything you believe about family." The line went dead, leaving me staring at my phone in the kitchen of my Denver apartment. Coffee growing cold in my hand. "My name is Michael Pierce. I'm 62 years old, and I spent 37 years as a bank financial investigator before I retired 2 years ago. My job was catching people who thought they could outsmart the system, people who believed they were too clever to get caught, embezzlers, money launderers, fraud artists who preyed on honest folks' trust. I'd seen every trick in the book, heard every sob story, witnessed every betrayal that greed could inspire. I never imagined I'd need those skills to investigate my own son. Ryan is my only child. He's 36 now, works as an investment advisor, pulls in around $85,000 a year, has a beautiful wife Amanda and my granddaughter Emily, who just turned 6 last month. After my wife Carol died 5 years ago from cancer, Ryan became everything to me. He was the one who helped me through the darkest months, who convinced me to keep going when I wanted to give up on everything. That's why 18 months ago, when he suggested I let him manage my retirement savings, it seemed like the perfect solution. We were sitting in my kitchen after one of our weekly dinners, Emily coloring at the table while Amanda cleaned dishes. "Dad, you've worked your whole life," Ryan had said, his voice gentle but persuasive. "Let me take care of the financial stress. I do this professionally. I can get you better returns than those bank CDs that barely keep up with inflation." I had $380,000 in my retirement account. Not a fortune by today's standards, but enough to live comfortably if managed right. Enough to help with Emily's college someday, maybe leave something behind when my time came. Ryan set up what he called the Pierce Family Investment Fund, complete with professional-looking documents and quarterly reports showing steady 12% annual growth. Everything looked legitimate, backed by his firm's letterhead. For 18 months, I got statements showing my money was growing beautifully. Ryan would call every few weeks with updates, his voice confident and reassuring. "The tech sector's been good to us, Dad. Your portfolio's up another 3% this quarter. At this rate, you'll hit $500,000 by next Christmas." I felt proud. My son was taking care of me the way I'd taken care of him all those years, the way fathers and sons should look out for each other. Then came that call 3 weeks ago that started my world crumbling like a house built on sand. "Dad, I've got an opportunity," Ryan had said, his voice excited but with an edge I'd learned to recognize from years of reading people under pressure. "There's a tax optimization strategy we need to implement before year end. I need you to sign some paperwork to transfer an additional $50,000. It'll save us thousands in capital gains taxes." Something didn't sit right. The words were right. The reasoning sounded plausible, but in 37 years of financial investigation, I'd learned to trust my gut above everything else. Ryan was talking fast, using technical terms, pushing for a quick decision. Classic pressure tactics I'd seen from every con artist who'd ever sat across from me in an interrogation room. "Let me think about it," I'd said, keeping my voice neutral. "Dad, the deadline's Friday. If we wait until next week, we lose the opportunity completely. The tax window closes December 31st. That's when I knew something was wrong. No legitimate investment strategy has arbitrary Friday deadlines. No tax optimization disappears because you wait 72 hours. I'd heard that same artificial urgency from every fraud case I'd ever worked. The desperate push for immediate action, the fear of missing out, the time pressure designed to prevent careful thinking. I called Harold Foster that afternoon. Harold's a former FBI agent who'd worked with me on several cases over the years, mostly corporate fraud and financial crimes. He runs a small private investigation firm now, specializes in following money trails and uncovering financial deception. We'd shared enough late nights piecing together bank records and transaction logs to trust each other completely. "I need you to look into my son," I told him. The words felt like swallowing glass. Harold was quiet for a long moment. "Mike, are you sure about this? Family investigations can get ugly fast." "No, I'm not sure about anything. That's exactly why I'm calling you." For 3 weeks, Harold dug into Ryan's life like an archaeologist uncovering layers of deception. Bank records, credit reports, employment verification, transaction histories, social media monitoring, everything. He used contacts at Ryan's firm, checked public records, even ran surveillance to verify Ryan's daily routines. Harold was thorough because he understood what was at stake. This wasn't just another case. This was my life, my family, my future. And this morning, he'd called with results that confirmed every instinct that had been screaming warnings in my head. I met Harold at Murphy's Diner on Colfax Avenue, the kind of place where truckers and cops grab coffee at all hours, where nobody pays attention to quiet conversations in corner booths. Harold was already there when I arrived, a manila folder thick with documents sitting on the table between us. His face looked like he'd aged 5 years since I'd seen him last. "Your son was terminated from Morrison Financial 10 months ago," Harold said without preamble, sliding the folder across the scarred Formica table. "Officially for performance issues, but I spoke to someone inside. He was caught churning client accounts to generate commissions. They were going to report him to FINRA, but he resigned first." The coffee in my mouth turned to ash. "What else?" Harold opened the folder, revealing bank statements, transaction records, credit reports, a paper trail that told the story of my son's spectacular fall from grace. He owes $180,000 to various creditors. Credit cards maxed out, personal loans from online lenders, a second mortgage on the house that Amanda apparently doesn't know about. The family's been living off credit for months. I stared at the numbers swimming before my eyes. Each line item was another lie, another deception, another betrayal. Restaurant charges for $300 dinners while claiming to work late. Cash advances to cover mortgage payments. Luxury purchases charged to cards that should have been paid off years ago. "Mike, your $380,000, there's about $140,000 left in legitimate investments." The rest went to cover his debts and lifestyle expenses over the past 10 months. The diner seemed to tilt around me. $240,000 gone. More than half my retirement, my security, my future. Stolen by the person I trusted most in the world, the boy I'd taught to ride a bike and throw a baseball, the man I'd walked down the aisle at his wedding. "There's more," Harold continued, his voice gentle but relentless. "He's been moving money through cryptocurrency exchanges, probably trying to gamble his way out of the hole. Lost another $155,000 in the last 6 months alone on high-risk trades. Bitcoin, Ethereum, some coins I'd never even heard of." Harold pulled out printed screenshots from trading platforms, showing a devastating pattern of losses. Buy high, panic, sell low, chase the next big thing with money that wasn't his to lose. It was textbook gambling addiction behavior dressed up in the language of legitimate investment. "What are my options?" I asked, surprised by how steady my voice sounded when everything inside me was screaming. Harold's expression was grim as he closed the folder. "Legally, this is wire fraud, elder financial abuse under federal law. If you want to pursue it, I can help you build a case that'll put him away for years. But Mike," he paused, meeting my eyes, "it's your son, your only child, and Emily's father." I sat there in that diner booth, staring at the evidence of my son's betrayal spread across the table like autopsy photos. Around us, life went on. Truckers argued about football. A waitress refilled coffee cups. Someone fed quarters into an old jukebox that wheezed out country music. Normal people living normal lives, unaware that mine had just exploded. "Give me everything you have," I said finally. "I need time to think." That night, I sat in my apartment staring at Harold's evidence until my eyes burned. Part of me wanted to confront Ryan immediately, give him a chance to explain, maybe work out some kind of family solution. But 37 years in financial crimes had taught me that confrontation only gives criminals time to destroy evidence and craft better lies. Instead, I did what I'd always done best. I investigated. Using contacts from my banking days, contacts who still owed me favors from cases we'd worked together, I traced Ryan's financial history month by month. The pattern emerged like a photograph developing in slow motion. When he lost his job 10 months ago, instead of telling his family and adjusting their lifestyle, he'd made a different choice. He'd started using my money to maintain their standard of living. The house payments, Amanda's car lease, Emily's private school tuition, the family vacation to Aspen last Christmas where Emily had learned to ski. All of it funded by my retirement savings while Ryan smiled and played the role of successful provider. Every family dinner, every proud moment watching Emily open presents, every time he'd talked about his latest investment successes, he'd been lying to my face. The cryptocurrency trading was the most devastating part. Ryan had convinced himself he could make back what he'd borrowed through risky investments. Day trading, margin calls, desperate bets that only dug the hole deeper. I found records of him liquidating blue-chip positions at 60% losses, then immediately putting the remaining money into speculative altcoins with names like Safe Moon and Shiba Inu. Classic gambling addiction behavior dressed up as sophisticated investing. He wasn't just a thief. He was a compulsive gambler destroying his family's future along with mine, chasing the big win that would make everything right again. After a week of investigation, I had a choice to make. I could confront him privately, maybe work out some kind of repayment plan that would take decades. Or I could do what I'd spent my career doing, build a case and let justice take its course. The decision came when I thought about Emily. My granddaughter deserved better than a father who stole from family. She deserved to grow up knowing that actions have consequences, that nobody is above the law, not even family, not even the people who are supposed to protect you. I called Dorothy Walsh, a family law attorney I'd worked with on several financial abuse cases over the years. She had a reputation for being tough but fair, someone who understood that family crimes often cut deepest because they violate the most basic trust. Dorothy reviewed my evidence in her downtown office, a space that managed to be both professional and comfortable. She whistled low when she saw the transaction records. Michael, this is textbook elder financial abuse. The amount involved puts it squarely in federal jurisdiction. Are you prepared to see your son go to prison? I'm prepared to see justice done, I said, and meant it. Dorothy helped me plan the next phase. Instead of immediately going to authorities, we decided to give Ryan enough rope to hang himself. I would offer him more money, record his admissions, and build an airtight case that no defense attorney could punch holes in. We need him to admit what he's done, Dorothy explained. Confessions carry enormous weight with juries, especially when they're recorded. Can you handle pretending everything's normal while wearing a wire? I thought about 37 years of interrogating suspects, of maintaining poker faces while listening to elaborate lies. I can handle it. I called Ryan that Thursday evening, timing it for when I knew Amanda would be putting Emily to bed, when he'd be alone and more likely to let his guard down. I've been thinking about that tax strategy you mentioned. I said, keeping my voice casual. Let's move forward with the $50,000 transfer. The relief in his voice was heartbreaking and infuriating at the same time, Dad. That's great. You won't regret this. I've got my eye on some opportunities that could really accelerate our returns. Actually, I've been so impressed with the results so far, I'm thinking about moving more of my remaining savings over, maybe another $100,000. Think you can handle that level of investment? There was a pause, and when Ryan spoke again, his voice had changed. Eager, almost desperate. Absolutely, Dad. This could really set us up for the long term. With that kind of capital, I can get us into some exclusive opportunities. More lies, delivered with the smooth confidence that had fooled me for 18 months. We arranged to meet that Saturday at his office to sign the transfer papers. I hung up the phone and immediately called Harold. I need a wire, I said. Saturday morning arrived gray and cold, typical December weather in Denver. I sat in my car outside Ryan's office building in Lodo, watching people hurry past bundled in winter coats, everyone focused on their own lives and problems. In 20 minutes, I was going to walk into that building and record my son confessing to stealing my life savings. The wire Harold had provided was smaller than I'd expected, barely noticeable under my shirt. The recorder was voice-activated, with enough battery life for 3 hours of conversation. Harold had tested it twice to make sure it would pick up clearly even if Ryan spoke softly. Remember, Harold had coached me, get him to state specific amounts. Get him to admit he used the money for personal expenses. Most importantly, get him to acknowledge that he knew what he was doing was wrong. Ryan's office was in a converted warehouse building, all exposed brick and industrial fixtures designed to appeal to young professionals who wanted to feel innovative and cutting edge. The kind of place that screamed disruptive financial services to impress clients. His name was still on the directory in the lobby. Ryan Pierce, Senior Investment Advisor. Nobody had bothered to update it after his termination. He was waiting in his office when I arrived, all the paperwork ready on his desk. Transfer forms that would have moved another $150,000 into his control documents that would have given him legal access to steal even more of my money. He stood up when I walked in, smiling that confident smile I remembered from his childhood, from Little League games and graduation ceremonies. Dad, perfect timing, Ryan said, gesturing to the chair across from his desk. I've got everything ready for the transfer. This is going to be great for both of us. I settled into the chair, noting how expensive everything looked. The leather furniture, the art on the walls, the massive monitor displaying financial charts, all of it probably paid for with other people's money, just like my stolen retirement funds. Ryan, before we do this, I need to ask you something, I said, keeping my voice casual while the wire recorded every word. Is my money really safe? I mean, with all the market volatility lately, he looked me straight in the eye, his expression earnest and reassuring. Dad, your money couldn't be safer. It's all in blue chip stocks, diversified portfolio across multiple sectors. I'd never risk your retirement with anything speculative. Every word was a lie and we both knew it. But I needed him to say more, to dig his hole deeper. The returns have been so good, almost too good to believe. 12% in this market seems incredible. Ryan leaned forward, warming to his pitch like a salesman who'd found an interested customer. Dad, I've got inside connections, research that most investors never see. Your money isn't just sitting in some boring index fund earning 3%. I'm actively managing it, making strategic moves based on insider knowledge. What if you needed to access some of it temporarily, for an emergency or cash flow situation? That's when he made his first real mistake. His confidence wavered for just a second, and I saw the desperate gambler beneath the polished exterior. Well, I mean, there have been times when cash flow was tight and I've had to move money around between accounts, but it's all tracked, all accounted for. Think of it as internal lending within the family fund. Bingo, admission on tape that he'd been using my money for his own purposes. I leaned back in my chair, studying my son's face. 37 years of interrogating suspects had taught me exactly when to apply pressure. Ryan, I'm going to ask you a direct question, and I need a direct answer. How much of my original $380,000 is actually left? His face went white so fast I thought he might faint. The confident financial advisor vanished completely, replaced by a scared man who just realized his lies were crumbling around him. Dad, it's complicated. The market's been volatile, and there have been some temporary setbacks, but the overall strategy is sound. How much? I repeated, my voice harder now. His hands were shaking as he reached for a water bottle on his desk. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper, about $140,000. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. I could hear traffic outside, the hum of the building's heating system, the sound of my son's world collapsing. Where's the rest, Ryan? And then it all came out. The job lost 10 months ago, the mounting debts, the desperate attempts to trade his way back to solvency using my retirement money. He cried like I hadn't seen since he was 10 years old and broke his arm falling from the oak tree in our backyard. Dad, I can fix this. He sobbed, his carefully maintained professional image completely shattered. Give me time, just a little more time. The cryptocurrency market is about to turn around, and if I can just get one good trade, one big win, I can make it all back. Stop. I stood up slowly, removing the recording device Harold had given me. Just stop talking. Ryan's face crumpled when he saw the wire. The betrayal in his eyes was almost comical considering what he'd done to me. You were recording me, your own son. I'm a financial crimes investigator, Ryan. This is what I do. I pocketed the device and headed for the door. This is what I've always done. Dad, please, you can't do this. Think about Emily, think about Amanda. If this comes out, it'll destroy our family. I turned back to look at him one last time. My only child sitting behind a desk bought with stolen money, begging me to protect him from the consequences of his own choices. You destroyed our family the moment you decided to steal from me. I said quietly, I'm just making sure everyone else can see what you really are. I walked out of his office and never looked back. Monday morning, I took Harold's evidence and my recorded confession to FBI Special Agent Margaret Stone, who specialized in financial fraud cases. Her office was in the federal building downtown, all business and American flags and photos of her shaking hands with various law enforcement officials. Agent Stone reviewed the evidence with the methodical precision of someone who'd seen every type of financial crime imaginable. The bank records, transaction logs, recorded confession, Harold's investigation report. She took notes as she read, occasionally asking clarifying questions. Mr. Pierce, this is one of the most thoroughly documented cases I've seen, she said finally. Your son's confession alone would be enough to convict. But with all this supporting evidence, it's bulletproof. The case moved faster than I'd expected. Ryan was arrested at his house on Wednesday morning while Amanda was taking Emily to school. Neighbors watched from their windows as FBI agents led him away in handcuffs. By evening, it was the lead story on local news. Investment advisor charged with defrauding own father. Amanda called me that night, her voice shattered. Michael, I had no idea. About the job, about the money, about any of it. I thought we were doing well. I thought her voice broke. How could he lie to all of us for so long? I didn't have an answer for her. How do you explain that someone you love is capable of destroying everything you've built together? How do you make sense of betrayal that complete? What happens now? She asked. Now we let the legal system do its job, I said. And we protect Emily from as much of this as possible. The next few months were a blur of legal proceedings, media attention, and family destruction. Ryan's attorney tried every angle he could think of, claiming it was a misunderstanding, a temporary loan between family members, a dispute that should be handled in civil court rather than criminal proceedings. But the evidence was overwhelming. Wire fraud, elder financial abuse, securities fraud. The prosecutor offered a deal. Plead guilty, cooperate fully, and get 15 months instead of the 5-year maximum. Ryan's lawyer advised him to take it. At the sentencing hearing in federal court, I gave a victim impact statement. The courtroom was packed with reporters, curious onlookers, and a few of Ryan's former colleagues who'd come to watch his public humiliation. Amanda sat in the back with her parents, her face a mask of grief and shame. Your Honor, I said, standing at the podium and looking directly at Judge Patricia Reed. I spent my career protecting people from financial predators. I investigated hundreds of cases where criminals stole from those who trusted them most. I never imagined the predator would be my own son. Ryan sat at the defendant's table, unable to meet my eyes. His expensive suit couldn't hide the fact that he looked like a broken man. The defendant didn't just steal money from me. He stole my ability to trust, my sense of family, my financial security in my retirement years. He used my love for him as a weapon against me, knowing I would never suspect my own child of such betrayal. I paused, looking around the courtroom. But more than that, he stole from his own daughter's future. The money he gambled away was meant to help pay for Emily's education, to leave her something when I'm gone. Instead, she'll grow up knowing her father is a convicted felon who stole from his own family. Judge Reed listened without expression, occasionally taking notes. When I finished, she reviewed her sentencing guidelines for what felt like an eternity. "Mr. Ryan Pierce, please stand," she said finally. Ryan stood on shaky legs, his attorney beside him for support. "I've reviewed all the evidence in this case, including your father's victim impact statement. What you did represents a fundamental betrayal of family trust. You didn't just commit financial crimes, you violated the most basic bonds that hold families together." Her voice was stern, unforgiving. "For wire fraud and elder financial abuse, I sentence you to 15 months in federal prison, followed by 3 years of supervised probation. You are banned from working in financial services for 7 years. You will pay restitution of $240,000 plus $35,000 in legal fees to your father." The gavel came down with finality. Ryan was led away in handcuffs while Amanda wept quietly in the back of the courtroom. But the real consequences were just beginning. Amanda filed for divorce within a month of the sentencing. She discovered the second mortgage, the hidden debts, the web of lies that had supported their lifestyle for almost a year. Their house went into foreclosure. Amanda moved back with her parents in Colorado Springs, taking Emily with her. That's when the most unexpected part of this whole nightmare began. 3 months after Ryan started serving his sentence, Amanda called me with a proposition that changed everything. "Michael," she said during one of our awkward phone conversations about Emily's visitation schedule, "I need to be honest about something. I'm struggling. Working double shifts to pay rent, trying to be a single mother, living with my parents who are getting older, and can't help much with Emily." She paused, and I could hear Emily playing in the background, her innocent laughter a sharp contrast to the adult problems surrounding her. "Would you consider taking Emily? Not permanently, but long-term? She adores you. And honestly, you're more stable than I am right now." I thought about my quiet retirement, my small apartment, my carefully planned simple life. Then I thought about Emily, brilliant and innocent, needing stability and love while her world fell apart around her. "Bring her over," I said. "We'll figure it out together." That was 8 months ago. Emily lives with me now, officially my ward through the family court system. Amanda visits every other weekend and calls every night, but she knows Emily is better off with me. Stable, loved, protected from the worst of the chaos her father created. I enrolled Emily in Stapleton Elementary, a good school near my apartment. Her teachers say she's gifted, especially in math. Makes sense, numbers run in the family, the good parts of the family anyway. She's made friends, joined the after-school art program, and slowly started acting like a normal 6-year-old instead of a confused child caught in adult problems. Ryan writes letters from federal prison in Littleton. I don't read them. Harold offered to screen them first, but I told him to just return them unopened. Whatever my son has to say to me, I'm not ready to hear it. Maybe I never will be. Through the court-ordered restitution process, I managed to recover about $190,000 of my stolen retirement money. Not everything, but enough to live on if I'm careful. The rest was gone forever, lost in Ryan's gambling, and used to fund a lifestyle built on lies. Some nights after Emily's asleep in what used to be my home office, I sit at my kitchen table and think about trust. How it builds over decades and breaks in seconds. How the person you trust with your life can be the one who destroys it. But then Emily calls from her bedroom, asking for water or wanting to show me a drawing she made at school, and I remember why I did what I did. She's growing up knowing that actions have consequences, that right and wrong aren't negotiable, that family love doesn't excuse criminal behavior. Last week, Emily and I planted a small garden on the balcony of my apartment. Tomatoes, herbs, some flowers she picked out at the nursery. As we worked together in the soil, getting our hands dirty, she looked up at me with those bright eyes. "Grandpa, are you sad that Daddy's in prison?" I thought about how to answer that. How do you explain complex emotions to a 6-year-old? How do you balance honesty with protecting innocence? "I'm sad that he made bad choices," I said finally, "but I'm not sad that you're safe with me." She nodded seriously, then went back to planting seeds with the focused concentration only children can manage. I'm 62 years old, supposed to be enjoying a quiet retirement. Instead, I'm raising a 6-year-old living on a reduced income and dealing with the aftermath of my son's betrayal every single day. But when Emily runs to greet me after school, when she helps me make pancakes on Saturday mornings, when she falls asleep on the couch during our movie nights, I know I made the right choice. Justice isn't always about punishment. Sometimes it's about protection, protecting the innocent, protecting the future, protecting what matters most when everything else falls apart. My retirement savings are mostly gone. My relationship with my son is destroyed beyond repair, but my granddaughter is safe, loved, and learning that integrity matters more than money. Ryan gets out of prison in 7 months. His parole officer says he'll probably want to reconnect with Emily, maybe ask for visitation rights. I've already spoken to Dorothy about it. The answer will be no. Some bridges, once burned, can never be rebuilt. Some trust, once shattered, can never be repaired. But some things, like a grandfather's love for his granddaughter, are unbreakable. And that's the only investment advice I need anymore. Sometimes the greatest act of love is holding those we care about accountable for their actions, even when it breaks our hearts to do it. Trust isn't something you inherit from family, it's something you earn every single day. And once it's broken, all the blood in the world can't put it back together.